Welcome everybody to another edition of Mind-Boggling Concepts in the Torah. Tonight we have Parsha Re'eh in the book of Devarim. As per usual, please put down any sharp objects and don't get too close to the camera. We don't want to spread any of those dangerous diseases. So, welcome everybody. We've got an exciting program. Tonight's Parsha, this week's Parsha is one of my favorites. One of the classic lines of the Torah, Re'eh, which translates as see. Re'eh, Re'eh anechi noten lefnechem. See, I have placed before you today a blessing and a curse. What's the blessing? Et bracha, asher tishmu, if you listen to the mitzvahs of Shem your God, which I command you today. And what's the curse? If you do not listen to the mitzvahs of the Lord your God, and you turn from the path which I command you today to go after other gods, which you have not known. Very interesting. One of the things that destroys American Jewry is that, unfortunately, we only got ourselves to blame for it, is removing religion from schools, the separation of church and state, which was one of the all-time stupid. The separation of church and state is not stupid, but the way that they implemented it by taking religion out of schools was a terrible, terrible idea. Because one of the things that it did, you see, the Parsha says, it says, what's the curse? If you follow gods that you have not known. So what if you do know them?
Then perhaps you may not be as interested in them. You get bored of them.
Right. So that's what the Parsha is coming to say, is you're only interested in it because you don't know it.
Oh, that's what all the isms are about also, right? Like every ism.
Right.
You don't know about it, so it's interesting.
Right, it's interesting. Communism, Buddhism, right? So when Christianity was in the schools, so it was familiar, so it wasn't appealing. But because they took it out of the schools, now it has a bit of a feel. That's what Shlomo Melech says in Kehelis. There's nothing new under the sun. That's an incredible concept, because what he's telling you is that the new is in of itself appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Why this brand new formula? It has been improved from the previous formula. Right. I wish you hadn't changed the formula. The old formula worked really well.
Right. But that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is like on shampoo. Like they'll put on shampoo like new bottle. Right. Same shampoo, just a different bottle.
Oh, it's even worse than that, Rabbi. The bottle is smaller and you're paying the same amount.
Okay. Right. That's true too, right? That's even worse. But in terms of the meaning of the experience, that it's crazy that they bother to redesign the bottle. Okay, so they have to redesign the bottle. Okay, fine. But for whatever reason, if you look at you go to one of these antique places or histories or museums and you see, ketchup bottles from 100 years ago and things like that. Right, okay, so they need things have to be updated and made to look modern. Okay, I understand that. But to put it on the bottle, to mark it that it's a new bottle, it's the same junk inside. The only difference is the shape of the bottle. Like when I'm buying shampoo, I really care what the shape of the bottle is. I understand that some things that might be a meaningful thing, or somewhat, maybe not meaningful, but not the right word, but significant. So, if you're where would the shape? If you're having soap, for instance, your bathroom soap. So you're more likely to buy a bottle of soap that looks nice, so it's makes it's artistic. It's on the table, it's in the bathroom, so people see it. Okay, so I understand that, right? But in the shower, you don't care. Who cares what color, what shape the bottle is?
Most people don't.
Maybe somebody whose hands are affected, they can't hold things well, they redesigned it.
Right. So they should say organic, or is it not organic? Economic, what's it called? Ergonomic, right? Thank you very much. English isn't my first language, but so I understand it, but that wasn't this case. This was like new bottle design. Like, and again, I understand that the upgrade, but the fact that they market, so that's what Shlomo Melech is coming to say. The people that there's an appeal to the new, just because it's new, not new and improved, because there's improved. So there's new that's different than improved. Just being new is in of itself an attraction. So Shlomo Melech comes along and says that that this desire for new doesn't exist. It's a real desire. Right? It's true that you need something new, but it doesn't exist under the sun. So why does he qualify it for under the sun?
Where would it be? Under planet
He
Saturn?
could have just said there's nothing new. Right? Why does he have to qualify it? So the rabbis say that under the sun there's nothing new. But above the sun, in those where your son's going to learn, there is no.
Oh, so everything's spiritual, in other words.
In the world of ruchnius, in the world of spirituality, in the world of meaning, the world of Torah, there is no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which is a fascinating thing, because the verse says that the curse, the bracha is, if you listen to the mitzvahs, which I command to you today. So the Brisker Rav says, why does it have to be today? What about the mitzvahs commanded yesterday?
What do you mean, yesterday?
Why does it have to be that I commanded you today? All right, what's the bracha? If you listen to the mitzvahs, which I command to you today.
And he just you as you are. He doesn't judge what you did before.
What do you mean?
Just like in Yom Kippur, where you talk about how you're judged how you are at that.
Oh, right. But that's very good. But that's talking about a judgment. That's talking about how the Almighty looks at us. But here it's talking about the blessing comes if you listen to the mitzvahs which I command to you today. It didn't have to say today. It could have just said, if you listen to the mitzvahs which I command you. Why do you have to add today? So he says, Jeff Bezos has a famous line how he made Amazon, and he says it's always day number one.
Yeah, we talked about this. We said that he stole it from God.
He stole it from God. Right? When it's your first day putting on tefillin, the first time you're ever lighting candles, it's the first whenever. You're putting mezuzah on the door, right? So it's a thrill. There is something in it being new, especially when it's a meaningful thing. Even if it's not a meaningful thing, it's still a thrill. A new car, new toaster oven, right? So he said, when you treat your business as it's new, so you get every customer, you're interested in what they have to say, you'll find out about you're talking about their personal life. You can spend half an hour on the phone with them, right? They're only buying 2 rolls of toilet paper, but they're like because it's the new business. So since that's how business has to be, it's always day number one. Now, unfortunately, he understood that concept when it came to business. It wasn't so great when it came to his marriage. Right? So that's how we should be with our marriages. We should be with our families. That should be when you see your kids in the morning, it should be like it's like the first time you ever saw them. That's the way to do it. When you open up a chumash, it's like the first time you ever saw a chumash.
It probably is, isn't it? Because you're a different person than the first time you
100%.
opened the chumash, so it is new to you. It's like I remember Seinfeld. They used to have reruns of Seinfeld and some of the other junky sitcoms on NBC, and so they would show you little snippets, and they would say, if you haven't seen it, then it's new to you. I thought it was a very clever marketing tool there.
Right. That's true. Right. So there's an excitement to it being new. Right. There is a meaningful aspect of our lives that just being new. There was a human, Representative Heller makes this point, that anything meaningful never has an end. Right. Like she makes a joke, like, you never finish your children. Right? They might finish you, but you never finish them. You're never finished. Right? If a plant never gets to a point where it's all done. It dies, it's true, but it never gets to a point. As long as it keeps growing, it's still alive. There's no definition. This makes it difficult to measure meaningful things because they're always growing, they're always changing, they're always right. That's the aspect of life. That's the dynamic aspect of life, and that's very meaningful. So mitzvahs, that's the blessing. Is it new? So Judaism is not like any other religion. In every other religion, the old ways are just as good. In fact, that's all they have. They've been doing the same thing for 1,000 years. But Judaism just doesn't work like that. If you're doing the same thing after a year, it's dead. What do you
mean doing the same thing after a year? I mean, so many of the holidays are cyclical, so like you're doing the same thing every year.
You're not doing the same. You're not doing the same thing every year. The words mean something different every year.
Oh yeah, because you've grown or you've had certain experiences and you see it differently. Okay, fine.
That's true. But if you go into a shul and they're saying the same thing, and you can feel that they're saying the thing, it's death.
Yeah, so if they're still behaving in the same ways, there's no growth, no mindset changes, yeah, it is dead. It's true. It's true.
Right? So these movements, the reason they died, right? Like the movie Fiddler on the Roof, they tried to hold on to a way of life only in that time. It's a fascinating thing, but it says this by Har Sinai, by Matan Torah. It says that, so the Midrash says that the Almighty held the mountain over the heads of the Jewish people and said to them, if you accept the Torah, good, and if not, this is where you will die. Right? This will be your burial spot. Right? But the Midrash doesn't say it quite like that. It says in a very strange way. It says it held the mountain over their heads, har kagigis, a mountain over their heads like a barrel. Right? Now that's a very strange parable, because a parable comes to elucidate something that's confusing. So if I say to you, the spark plugs in my car don't work, and you go, well, what's a spark plug? A spark plug is sort of like the
Flint and stone.
Flint and stone. It's sort of like the can of Coca-Cola. It's like the caffeine jolt. It's not quite, but if I'm giving you a parable to explain something that is you don't understand, there's not. It's making something clear. Which part of holding a mountain over your head is not clear?
But wasn't Moshe standing on the mountain, and weren't some of the 70 people on the mountain, the 70 elders? They were on the mountain, so Hashem held them over the people?
That's a very good question. I've never heard that question before.
And by the way, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If Hashem is putting the mountain on top of them, aren't they surrounding the mountain? Their circle, right, much larger circumference-wise than the mountain, which is a little bit smaller that they're surrounding, no?
That's a very
never understood it. This made no sense. How come I never asked this question?
That's a very good question. Those are very good questions. Right?
Whereas a barrel is different. A barrel rolls.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the meaning.
So what does it mean, Rabbi, according to your
Well,
understanding?
it doesn't work with what I was going to say, but I like what you said. So God says, He held the mountain over their heads like a barrel. It says, if you accept the Torah, good. And if not, this is where you will be buried. Right? So why do you need the barrel? I understand the mountain already. So you see, it doesn't say this is where you'll die. It doesn't say you will die. It says this is where you will be buried. Throughout our history, we for some reason we abhor the idea of growth. We just want to stay this way. And many Jews, it's very unfortunate, but I've met Jews who traditional, all kinds of walks of life, and they're upset that their children are more from than them. It's a fascinating thing, but people want their kids to say the same as them. When it comes to money, they want their children to be richer than them. When it comes to health, they want them to be healthier than them. When it comes to intelligence, they want them to be smarter than them.
I don't follow this.
That's good. But when it comes to religion, they don't want them to be any better than them. That's a very typical sentiment. And it's backwards.
But I think the challenge is because, just from our own experience, is that when your kids do end up becoming more observant than you, then it feels like you're trying to catch up, and it's so much harder to catch up to them because they're like running and you're crawling. So I can understand why they don't want that, because they feel like they're not going to be able to connect to their kids anymore because they're so behind.
That's true. I understand where it's coming from. It's just crazy because it means you did a good job. It was our children, and we're going all the way back now. Adam Rishon, the first man, he made a tremendous mistake. And his mistake was so grand, so big, so massive, that it was impossible for him to fix. So he tore off a little piece, and each generation gets another piece of that mistake to deal with. Everyone's born in this world. I've talked about it many, many times, right? Everything on this planet does one thing really, really well. Like eagles soar, salmon swim, cheetahs run. Right? Human beings were born incompetent. Right? It's incredible how imbecilic anyone who has any belief in evolution it's just a complete mystery. Where did we evolve from? There can't be anything more stupid than that. If there's anything more stupid, it could never have made it long enough to evolve. And I understand if you want to say that an amoeba, right, is the pinnacle of creation. In other words, amoeba evolved from us, not we evolved from an amoeba. Right, because an amoeba, all it does is sit in a pond of goo, and all it has to do is separate into two. That's all it has to do. It does that, it's achieved perfection. it's fulfilled its purpose in existence. Right? I understand that that's that's a great account. That's all you have to do. But human beings, how can you explain that human beings evolved? It's not reasonable. Right? So what is the thing that we do really well? Stupid. That's what human beings is, just phenomenal. Nothing personal. So my best friends are stupid, but it's just that's what we do. So our job, we're born with some level of incompetence, a mistake, some aspect of that mistake, and every generation gets another piece of that pie. Right? So our children, or we, are building on the it's sort of like building it's sort of like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle of 10 billion pieces. In your entire lifetime, you can't finish it. So you do enough, and your children carry on from where you left off. That's our purpose in life. Is take that mess and make it a little less mess. And then we leave our children for something for them to do. That's it. That's each generation.
So that's the meaning of it today, where it says, I'm commanding you today.
No, but that's good. How do we get onto that? You're right. It is today. You're right, because everybody has something new that they have a challenge in. We are created in the same way that if you take a monkey out of the jungle and you put him in a zoo that is meant for deer or whatever, right? It doesn't have trees to climb or anything like that. The monkey doesn't do very well. Monkeys need to live. Every animal needs to live in the environment to which it was created for. We were created to live in an environment to take on a challenge that no one ever dealt with. We need that environment. And animals don't have that. They do the same thing their parents did, and their parents did for thousands of generations. Human beings were built to take on something new. That's exciting. That's very exciting when it's on the TV, right? So it's the latest Mission Impossible nutcase, crazy, ridiculous, puzzle that Ethan Hawke has to. Was it Hawke? I forget his name. Right?
Ethan, please.
What? Ethan
Hunt, Ethan Hunt, I think.
Right, very good. Right, and the latest thing he has to, right, and it's very exciting when it's on the screen. But when it's your life that you're dealing with challenges, it's like, oh my goodness, why do I have to do all this stuff? Right, and because you've got another piece of this whole puzzle that you have to resolve, you have to figure out, you have to perfect. And by all of you, this is why the belief in the Mashiach, because there's a finite amount of junk that we have to fix, and when it's all fixed, and not only is it all fixed, but it's inevitable that we're going to fix it. Then you don't have an option not to. You are going to leave this world, and everybody's going to leave this world with some part of that puzzle resolved.
So why don't we get more excited about dealing with stuff? Like why aren't we excited to rise up to challenges? I mean, if that's our whole purpose, what's keeping us from finding it exciting?
It's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. It's a mystery. Why? I mean, part of it, I think, I don't know if this is the whole answer, but part of it is living in the Western world that we've made to believe that it's James Bond and Ethan Hunt and, I mean, feminism has really messed us up big time. I remember this is now 35 years ago, we were living in Los Angeles. We had some kind of program going on, and one of our one of the supporters asked us if we could host his aunt. So this woman stayed with us, very, very sweet woman, lovely woman, I still remember. She stayed with us, a very feisty woman. She was a school teacher. So I knew I was kind of, walking on thin ice. So, but I felt I had to ask her the question, why do you think, and I didn't have an answer for her, but I wanted to see her opinion. Why do you think the American educational system went down the tubes? So what's the problem with it? I don't think I phrased the question like that, but that was the essential question. She said, I was totally shocked by the answer, that's why I still remember it. She said feminism. So I looked at her like, what? Like what? Why did feminism? So there was she didn't say this, I'm explaining it. So during the Cold War, apparently, the Americans outperformed the Russians in every aspect of military equipment. We built better planes, better guns, better everything except one field, tanks. The Russians built better tanks. It was a big mystery because one of the features that is important in a tank is the small size. The smaller you can build them, the better chance you got of survival in a war because they're harder to hit. And the Russians built incredibly small tanks. And the Americans couldn't figure out how they did it. One time they captured one of these tanks and they realized that the way they did it is they were always manned by small people. Now you can do that when you have a draft. Because every year you have so many conscripts that show up at your door, and as a percentage, a certain amount of them are going to be shorter than the average. So those they were told to go into the tank corps. Right? America couldn't do that because they didn't have the draft anymore. So whoever showed up, that's what they had to pick from. So they had to build tanks for the average size person, or maybe bigger than that in case somebody showed up who was taller. Right? But the Russians they could build smaller tanks. So when you had in America, half the population, women, only really had two careers that they could pick. They could either be nurses or teachers. Now, I hate to break it to you, but women are just as smart as men, if not more so. Right? So when you have half the population, right, who are very smart and they can only be teachers, you're going to have some great teachers. They're going to compete in that field. Right? Now, Judaism has a very similar kind of system because each tribe had its specialty. Right? Some were the farmers, some were the teachers, some were the merchants. Each fit. So when you have a tribe, that's all they can do. So it creates incredible competition and perfectionism within that within that small frame, within that small group. But when you opened it up, and now women could be lawyers like men could be lawyers, right? You didn't get better lawyers. You didn't get better accountants. Right? Now, I'm not saying we should go back to the old system. I don't, in terms of a moral reason, I get it, right? But or value system, I get it. But nevertheless, feminism didn't do the world any favors. So, what was the question we were answering on this? Bring this back.
About the one today. About why does Hashem say, "I'm telling you, these commandments are for you today." Not
tomorrow.
You're asking like why is it we don't find our lives exciting? So feminism taught women that it's only men's roles that are exciting. And that killed everything. Right? They destroyed family. It destroyed those things. Raising a family is not important.
Oh my gosh, that's the only important thing.
It's the only important thing, 100%, no question. Clearly, right? It's the most vital role, in society. It should be highly protected. It's a tragedy that they did such a thing.
You know, I had to fill out a form and they asked these questions about your position, your job or something. And I kept looking for like housewife or mother or something, and there didn't exist. So I had to write unemployed. I felt so,
Yeah.
I was ready for a fight, but there was no one to fight.
Right. Right. So when we live in a society, you know, Avnak used to say, if you live in an insane asylum, eventually you're going to start talking to the snakes crawling up the walls. Right? It's an insane asylum. But we only value an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or something like that.
It gets even worse. You know, there's like these influencers every once in a while. The Epoch Times would highlight these kinds of stories, which I found very interesting. So back when I had a subscription to them, so one of them was a woman who would make time, and she would like record this. She would make time to meet her husband at the door to say hello. Oh my gosh, the hecklers and the whatever. And then there was another woman who would make lunch for her husband every day. The amount of vitriol this poor woman was getting was astounding. Are you joking? It's not okay to like extend a kindness to another member of your family? It's okay for your kids, but not for your husband? Are you joking? And like, your opinion is so important that you have to say something to this woman that's filled with hatred? Really?
Right.
What does it say about you?
Right. No, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Right. That's the problem, is we don't look at our own lives as exciting, as well. We have a mission. We have a purpose in life. What we're doing is incredibly meaningful, important to the existence of the world. Right? The Rambam says that this is how we should view our lives. The world is divided 50% righteous and 50% evil, and if the evil becomes greater than the righteous, then the world is destroyed. For the world, for your country, for your town, and for yourself. And your mitzvah that you're doing is the very mitzvah that's going to swing it over. You should view it as evenly balanced. Right?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And your mitzvah is the thing that's going to turn it over to the side of good.
I think you answer the question, Rabbi. You answer the question. The reason why we don't find it exciting is because of what you said, which is we're told that the most important roles, the key things that the world really runs on, is reduced to nothingness.
Right.
Right? It's the same thing with the Jews. Like, why is everyone beating up on us? Because of the value that we bring to the world. So if we're convinced by others that we don't have that value, then we don't do, and we're not excited by our position. We're just not. But once we understand, that's it. That's it. You can't stop us.
100%. Right? That's how we should view. So the Rambam is saying that's how you should view it. Right? So the question is that really how it is?
What do you mean? Is that really how it is?
Your mitzvah that you're about to do, that you're sending your son to Israel to go learn, right? And it's obviously a challenge. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's not just a simple mitzvah you're doing. It's a mitzvah that's swinging the world over to the side of good. But is that true?
Why isn't it true? Of course it's true.
Why is it, of course, true?
Because his clarity brings a little bit more clarity to the world.
That's true, but is it the one that's going to swing the world over to say, what the Rambam is describing is every action movie ever made. They don't make action movies like, oh my goodness, I've got to trim the hedge before the rain comes, because otherwise I won't be able to do it for 2 weeks, and it's going to get overgrown. It's going to look awful. They don't make action movies with dun 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 dun. Right? They make action movies where the world, the atomic bomb's about to blow up, and it's going to cause a chain reaction, and the whole, and everything, and the hero jumps in, and parachutes in at just the right time and saves the world. And that's, of course, the musical score helps, but that's the action movie, you follow?
But that's exactly what it really is on a spiritual side. Right? I mean, if you believe what Rambam is saying, which is that your every action is in the balance, so to speak, is determining the balance of the world, then that's like the action movie on a physical perspective, but you're doing it on the spiritual perspective. The only difference is that yours, you don't really see how it changes the world. You don't have that insight into it because we don't have those kinds of eyes. However, on an action movie, okay, it's on a big screen. It's so obvious. Look, he saved the world.
Right. So now, are we really saving the world? Is sending your son to Israel saving the world? Or it's just a very meaningful thing that I'm doing for me and my son and me and my family?
Yeah, I didn't think of it in terms of the world, but you're right. It is the world.
It is the world. But how do you know that it is? That's what the Rambam says.
You know how I know? Because when I look back to when my kids were little and I realized that I needed to teach them certain skill sets, like let's say, for example, conflict resolution, right? And then when they get older and I see that in play and I see that affecting people outside of our home and people notice that and they pick up on that and they learn from that, then it's obvious that one little action and decision that I made like some 10 years ago has now impacted people outside of our home. So it does make a difference. You just don't see it. You don't notice it.
That's right. But does it make the difference over the whole universe? Is the universe about to explode? And because you put your son on the plane to Israel, you think save the day.
It is if you go according to the Ramchal's definition of what the universe is, right? Because it doesn't say your world. You're creating your world when you do whatever it is you do in this finite existence. So right. In a manner of speaking, yes, that is a universe in its own. Your world is your own universe.
No, not your universe, the whole universe, the real whole universe.
I'm trying to figure out how to fit this in because this concept is whoa.
This is whoa. That's exactly right. That's the question. Is the Rambam just speaking hyperbole, or is it really the reality that's so Rav Noach used to give an example by Miriam. Right? Miriam saved Moshe, and she merited the well for 40 years. Bas Pharaoh, the daughter of Pharaoh, she saved Moshe too, and she merited his name. Who got the greater merit? Miriam. But Bas Pharaoh just got the name. It's very nice to be a name. We know Moshe by the name that she gave him. Very nice, but it's not as meaningful as saving the Jewish people, thousands and millions of people, over 40 years because of her. That's a phenomenal experience. Right? Who wouldn't want to be the person who funded Sarah Schneera, the first Beis Yaakov? Right? The Beis Yaakov became because of me. Right? Or the first Lakewood Yeshiva, Rav Aaron Kotler, because of me. Who wouldn't want that merit? Right? Everyone wants to be a hero in the history. But at the time, it's very hard to get people to see it.
Yeah, but again, the word hero is not very, like the word hero has this connotation of like everybody knowing and it's world news. At least you've got your 15 minutes of fame. In the spiritual world, like there's no counterpart to that, right? Because like most people are just like unknown.
That's true. But nevertheless, the term hero is a reflection of this desire we have to be the one that saves the world.
Yeah.
So see, the Rambam saying that when you do a mitzvah, see, the reason Miriam's reward was greater because she knew who Moshe was. She knew she wasn't saving Moshe, the person. She was saving the leader of the Jewish people. She knew who he was going. She was a prophetess. She knew who he was going to be. But Pharaoh wasn't saving the future of the Jewish people. She was saving a little boy. She didn't know who he was going to be. She was just saving a little boy. See, her reward is a little boy and one person. Miriam knew what she was doing. So she merited, she merited a far bigger reward.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing a mitzvah and you're saving the world, it's a different mitzvah.
So you're saying your perspective when you're doing the mitzvah changes its impact.
That's what on you.
Your intention.
Right. But the question is it true? Are you really doing the mitzvah? And the answer is absolutely. Why is it true? Because the Almighty didn't create a world, or put it differently, the Almighty created a world where everything is in balance. He didn't create a world where there's an overabundance of tzaddikim. He created the world where in your town, when you see those problems, if you don't deal with it, no one's going to deal with it. Why didn't he create a world where there's more people that will deal with this junk? Because you're the one who's going to save the world. That's how God created the world. In other words, if you're the delivery guy for a pizza shop, right? At the end of the week, you get paid, you go home, you have pizza, you watch a couple of movies, and you chill. You follow? Mm-hmm. But if your job is the delivery guy for people's livers, right, or organs, and you're taking them from one hospital to another to save someone's life, the end of the week, you're a different person. You have 5 deliveries that week. 5 people are walking around this world because of you. You don't drive the same as pizza, and you don't live the same. So the Rambam is saying, if you see your mitzvah as saving the world, you're living a different life. You're not just sending your son off to Israel. You saved the world. And you did. Rav Noach would say this. He would stay in front of the room and say, you are the people that are holding up the world.
Wow, that must have made everyone feel good.
It was phenomenal.
And a little, whoa.
But that's what you just did. You said the world was in balance because the Almighty set it up in such a way that you will be at the right time, at the right place. He didn't give you this mitzvah just as a nice thing for you to do, so you can feel good and you can look at the pictures and you can, in 5, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it happens to be, you can look, wow, we made a really nice decision. Thank God. No, he set it up in such a way that the world was in balance this afternoon. That's how he did it. You just got to tap into it. You saved the world. That's how we look at it. When you think, because it's true. That's how the Almighty made the world. It's a perfectly timed machine. He didn't put in too many tzaddikim. Didn't make too many doctors and too many teachers. He put just enough people so that they can do just what is necessary to keep the world in existence.
That applies to each one of us every day?
Each one of us all the time. And that's why you see something that is off, you're abandoning the world.
This is so interesting. This really helps me understand why I was upset when I was working on at a nonprofit organization, and we were finally moving in the positive direction, and we'd finally gotten disparate groups to at least work together, even if they didn't always agree with each other and didn't always like each other. But we were finally getting them to work together to make the organization more popular, more cohesive, more whatever the word you want to say. But it was going in a positive direction, and then something negative happened and it went off the rails, and I couldn't get it back on. Right. And it was so incredibly sad. And I couldn't understand what bothers me so much about this. And now I'm understanding. Right, because there was a vision. There was a vision that we were moving towards. And the people that messed it all up were not interested in that vision. Were not involved in that vision. And they didn't care that the vision was going in the right direction.
They just don't buy into this. It was you have a situation at the moment. It's mind-boggling. Like an awful lot of people, almost, I'm sure they're anti-Semites who who believe that it's Netanyahu that's creating this crisis in Israel, right? Why?
Really? We're putting it on him, one man?
Yeah, one man. It's so absurd. One man. I mean, you might disagree with when you're fighting a vicious, evil, a group of no words to describe them, Hamas. Like, you're never going to figure out or know the right thing to do at any particular time that's going to be effective, right? Because they have free will too. So there were mistakes in hindsight you can always make. But to think that, like, to not think, they can't put their head around the idea that a Jew or anybody cares about 10 of their citizens. Like, if it was 100,000, okay, now we understand why you're taking this so seriously, right? But a Jew intuitively understands, no, these people, it's the entire universe. The existence of the world is on the line here. We can't just walk away from these people and just say, well, hope for the best. That's just not. Now, the rest of the world doesn't buy into this philosophy, this way of thinking. But this is why they hate the Jews, because we do take everything very seriously. This is the movement, and this is the issue, and this is the mitzvah, and this is the good deed, and this is what we have to do. That's going to, at this precise moment, is going to save the world, and you just can't let it go. When you live, that's true, but when you live with that, you live a different life. You're not delivering pizza, you're delivering a pancreas. It's a different life, right? People who are doctors and do life-saving surgeries, they're different people, because it's a meaningful thing. If you're doing a mitzvah that's saving the world, you're living a different life. So see, I put in front of you a blessing or a curse.
So the blessing, you believe it. You believe the importance of you and your mission, right. And the curse is you don't.
You don't.
It's valueless.
Right. So you see people, and we see the world's filled, especially in America. You see it, so the people don't believe that anything they do has any real value or meaning or purpose. It's all just watching television. It's all just flicking through pictures of the vacuous nothing of nonsense of just. Nothing has value or reason, or there's nothing there, right? Chloe, if you do not listen to the mitzvah of the Lord and you turn from the path, right? So the Brisker Rav, he says like this: he says the blessing comes if you listen to if you hear that this is the mitzvah, right? That it's it's alive, it's fresh today. And the curse is if you don't hear the mitzvah I command you today, and you go after other gods. So we ask the question: what if you don't keep the mitzvahs, right? But you don't go after other gods?
Not possible.
Oh, very good. So that's what he says. Re'eh, pay attention. Re'eh means see, pay attention.
Notice.
You're not like anybody else. See, everybody else, and Jews want to be everybody else. They want the third option. You want to be a hero. You want to save the world. You want to live this meaningful life. You want to do the right thing. You want to be religious. You want to be holy. You go ahead. It's all really nice, right? I grew up in the secular London, and we belonged to what in England was called the Reform movement. It was a little bit more like the conservative movement in America, but nevertheless, it wasn't orthodox. And we all understood that the job of the rabbi was to be religious. It wasn't articulated, and he never said it. And he was always trying to get everyone else to be more religious. But nevertheless, that was his job, right? If you want to be religious, you want to be holy. And I always felt it was hypocritical. I never wanted to be religious. The idea of being religious when I was growing up was just but I understood it's a little bit hypocritical. So I should ask someone else to do it for me. But anyway, that's Christianity, that's Islam, that's every other religion, right? And the people who founded these secular Jewish movements, they wanted the same kind of things. We'll pay someone enough money, right? who will be the religious leader, right? This is his job. He'll be the religious leader, right? And so I can have fun. So the secular Jewish movements, the Reform, Conservative, all these groups, right? So they're not worshiping other gods. They're not keeping the mitzvahs, but they're not worshiping other gods. Because that's what the Jews want to be. They want to be like the Catholics. The Catholics, they go to church maybe once a week, maybe once a month, maybe once a year, maybe never, right? And they're considered, in the eyes of their religion, of their belief system, good Catholics. Why can't we have the same thing? Right? I play golf. I have a nice time. I attend a non-profit. I write a check to the local federation, and I'm a good guy. Right? Why can't I be like that? Right? So that's what the Parshas, that's what the Brisker of is coming along to say. Re'eh, I put before you only two choices. But the non-Jews, they have three choices. They
don't have three choices. You just think they do.
Who doesn't have three choices?
I don't think they have really three choices.
No, they do. They do.
Really, they can really remain stagnant?
They can remain stagnant. I have a few non-Jewish friends, very sweet, lovely people. And it just boggles my mind sometimes when they call me about things that they're going through, whatever it is. They have no desire, interest. And it's not like they're Jews. I can tell they're like there's a tension. There's no tension. Okay, so I won't. It's just they can be right in the middle. They can be right in the middle, and they're perfectly fine. Rav Yaakov Weinberg used to give the parables. He says, Joey Cohen lives next to Michael McKinclock, and one's a Catholic, one's a Jew, right? And they both become lawyers, right? And they both become successful, and they buy big houses, and they've both got yachts, and the Catholic boy is sitting on the Sunday with the grandchildren, with the poor, and he's having a great time. And the Jew is sitting there on a Sunday with the grandchildren, the poor, right, fella? And on the phone, he's making deals with China, right, or Japan, or building a bigger building. There's no end. There's no peace. You never get to a point where I'm done. The Jew never gets to a point that he's done. Jews having tremendous fun. I mean, the Jews are a big percentage of members of Alcoholics Anonymous are Jews in places like New York, where there's a lot of Jews. And Jews are they're nervous, they're on edge, they're pushing, they never give up. Right? So if it's focused on something meaningful, it's a very meaningful answer. But if it's not, it's a curse. So that's what the Brisker Rav is pointing out here. That if the curse is if you don't listen to the mitzvahs and you worship other gods, there will be another god you will worship. There is something else. Which one? The one you haven't known. Whatever is unfamiliar, the new, the exciting, right? As soon as it becomes familiar, no one's interested. No one's interested in their parents' religion. It's something that people don't have. It's like it must be there. An incredible thing. I'll tell you something incredible, right? The Talmud says that when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, so the time of relationships, the time of a marriage, the taste, so that the spice is the same word as reason or meaning. Or not meaning like meaningful, meaning the reason behind it. Like it's like you can eat something nutritious but hasn't got a tongue, hasn't got a taste. So the taste of marriage left marriage, the taste left marriage, and it went into the things you're not allowed to do.
What a shame.
Isn't that incredible?
That's a terrible thing. We should be all crying like crazy right now.
What's that?
We should all be crying like crazy right now. We should be howling and wailing.
100%, because it's destroyed marriages.
It's like
Why?
50% now, right? Like, is it like a 50% divorce rate?
It's not just a 50% divorce rate. That's not the problem. The problem is the other 50% are not in bliss,
Right.
right? Because they're all thinking, oh, somewhere else is more exciting. Somewhere else is, right? But you see the fascinating. So what does it mean? So it means that the ultimate experience is with the Almighty. Was in the Beis Hamikdash. That was the ultimate experience. And as long as you knew that was the ultimate experience, then you knew what your marriage was. Because the next ultimate experience after meeting God is with your spouse.
Right, because one is the connection, and the connection is the marriage.
That's right. You follow? But once the connection with God had disappeared, so everybody wanted to know where it was. So it must be in the place where you can't get to, what you're not supposed to do. Now, sometimes that what you're not supposed to do is a little innocuous. It's a hobby that's too excessive. It's a sport that's too much. It's a business that you'll become a workaholic. Sometimes it isn't what you're not supposed to do, right? It's something illegal or illicit. But it's always somewhere else, right? So for a long time, people thought it was putting a man on the moon. It kept people's attention for 10 years, close to 10 years. But it's always somewhere you can't get to. So as long as you think it's somewhere there, you don't think it's in your marriage. But that's where it is. Outside of a connection, there's God and your marriage. Those are the two most powerful experiences you'll ever have. Just because people don't think it's there, they don't go for it. They live with a mediocre relationship. But that's where it is. And if you don't realize it's there, that's the bracha. If you don't see it's there, you're going to think it's somewhere else, and that's the curse. That's the curse. Don't live in the curse. It's always day number one.
So do you mean to say that somebody who does not have a good relationship with their spouse cannot have a good relationship with God?
That's true. That's true. But that's not what I'm saying. But that's true.
It is?
Yes. Yes.
Like 100%?
Yeah, your spouse was picked out for you from the Almighty. You have 10 toes, last I counted. The Almighty wants you to have 10 toes. Right? He decided how many children you're going to have and what they're going to be like, because this is what you need. They're hand-picked. Right? Every aspect of your life is hand-picked.
So are you saying the 50% of the marriages that have been split, their relationships with God definitely suck? And the ones that are in miserable marriages, the other 50%, no, let's be kind. Let's say another 40% of marriages are miserable and 10% are in bliss. Are you saying that 40% have miserable relationships with God?
Yeah, you can to be qualified this, you can have a difficult relationship with your spouse, but it's a very loving, meaningful relationship. In the same way, you can have a difficult relationship with your children, but it's a loving, meaningful relationship. It's just when it's a resentful relationship. That's when you get into. So if you've got somebody who's like, "Oh, my wife, I can't believe I do," they're like, it's antagonistic, or whatever.
Unappreciative, ingratitude.
Right. I mean, God forbid. your spouse develops some sort of issue, right? A physical issue, whatever happens to it. It's not the best relationship. It's not the best for life. It's not the best. I don't say that it's not the best. It's what you need to go through, but it's not. This is not fun and games, right? Just as much as people, God forbid, unfortunately, have children that are disabled. It's not what you were looking for. Right, Rabbi Fine, I think his name is Rabbi Feiner. I think that's his name. So he's a big Talmud Chacham, genius, nicest guy. He has one. I don't know if he has other children, but and from when I heard the story and when he talked about it, he has one son who's severely disabled. He said, when I had a child, I was so looking forward to having a boy because learning is my life. And I was so looking forward to having a boy that we're going to learn together. And that wasn't going to be. He said, the relationship we have and what it's done for me is better than that.
So he figured out a way to be happy with what he got. And still also have it meaningful too.
It was meaningful. I play this video. I forget his name now. It's this kid that was born in Louisiana. I used to play in my classes, and he was born without eyes and can't walk, permanently crippled. He lives in a wheelchair his whole life. In terms of intelligence, he's as normal as anything. But so his father said, he said, you can't believe how the disappointment when I saw my son for the first time. So he said after years and years of working with his son to put him through school and all kinds, he says you can't. This incredible thing that he says, it couldn't ask for a better relationship than I have with my son. We aren't going to play music together, but we're going to play other things together, right? And
I think you sent this video to us.
Yeah,
his son was like in the high school bands or something, and he was the one pushing his wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone's watching
it,
I'll try. If I remember, I'll try and put a link in the video on the YouTube. Right? It's a phenomenal video, right? But you say we get married and we have kids and we have a life. It's never what we expected it to be. That's what God says to Moshe. Even though God told Moshe what's going to happen, and it didn't work out that way, because it doesn't work. We can't picture. We don't have the intelligence to figure out how life should go. Right? You have, I don't know. You have a bunch of children, right? Each one of those children, like I have a student who's a pharmacist. He said he focuses on elderly people. He said they give these medications to elderly people. They have no idea what they're doing because it's not just like the medication. They don't know how it reacts to other medications, and we don't. Right? When they do these tests on these medications, they're just testing if you just take this medication by itself. But they don't know what it does when you take two medications and because they can't test for all these different variables, right? So you have a number of children. Each one of them is bouncing off every other one in your family. We can't predict. AI is never going to be smart enough. For sure, we're never smart enough to figure out what each one needs in reference to what everyone else gets. Right?
So personalities are so different. What they need to feel loved is different.
Right. Exactly. So you have 6 million people under your care. You can't figure out what is the next step and what they need and it's impossible. It's impossible. Right? That's why Golda Meir used to, the joke was, that she used to say to President Johnson, says, you think you have a tough job? You're the president of 300 million people. She says, I'm the president of 3 million presidents. Right? That's the challenge. That's the challenge. But anyway, we only stuck with we got through the beginning.
What's the end? What's the end?
That's the end, right? So it starts with C, and it ends with being one of the mitzvahs that it says there is no shear, there's no measurement for, right? Like payah, like the corners of the field, when you give to the poor people. There's certain mitzvahs, there's no measurement, and yet the parsha is also to be appear. Is one of those parshas that makes it very clear the beginning and the end is on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the mitzvah at the end is to appear, to be seen at the holiday, to come to Jerusalem to be seen. Very interesting.
Do you know it's 7 months between these? From the festival of Matzot to the festival of Sukkot. It's 7 months. And everything before that talks about 7 also.
Uh-huh.
How does that relate to the blessing and the curse, to be seen?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. You're going to have
7 days. 7 days is normal, and the 8th is spiritual. This is talking about like all the things that you can like see, and then there's the sea above that. I don't know. This is very interesting. All the numbers and how they all correlate. It's very curious.
All right.
There's not enough time in the day.
Very good, guys. We're out of time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.